Today we had on Ken Pozek. He talks about building his team to 200 million in sales year to date, how he's built one of the best YouTube channels in real estate with 30,000 subscribers, how he's built an email subscriber list of 18,000 agents and clients, and how he's telling his team to deal with this market shift.
The Broke Agent presents Over Ask Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of Over Ask. Today we have on the very incredible special guest, Ken Pozek. Ken Pozek. And Ken, thanks so much for having us. I mean, it's a real honor.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. It means a lot. You guys are legends.
Ken, thanks for being on. We've wanted to have you on for a while. You've been crushing it. I was telling Eric before this, I feel like you're an OG YouTuber, like in the real estate space. So we're going to get into that, but you also just have an incredible business. So we're really stoked to get into like some tactical things as well. But for people who may not know you, can you kind of let people know who is Ken?
Yeah. So I've been in real estate forever, but I moved here to Orlando from Detroit in 2016 and just started over. Got into YouTube about 4 years ago, and now we've grown up a team. We got 27 people on the team between creative and operations and agents. And this year we'll do about 230 million in volume. That works out to be about 425 sides.
Jesus. What's your average price in Orlando?
In Orlando, it's 400. Our team, it's like 529.
That's badass. So what made you make the move from 8 Mile to Orlando?
Nice. Have you seen 8 Mile? You've seen the movie?
Yeah.
I mean, if we were sick of the snow, there was really not much to do there. It was like you're stuck inside for 6-7 months out of the year. Real estate average sales price was pretty low in Detroit, as you can imagine. I actually sold my childhood home when a bank took it back from like the people who bought it for us for $3,200. And at that point, I was like, I feel like I shouldn't live here anymore. This seems terrible. So we'd vacationed to Orlando a ton, and we looked at like Naples and West Palm, but just felt like a cool place to raise the kids. And so just started over, figured out YouTube along the way, and it's been really good for us.
What's the commission on a 3,200 home? Like $5?
Dude, so it's funny. The bank that was doing it, they did a minimum commission of $5,000, so they lost a ton of money.
That's good.
That was great.
That's insane. It's funny. Orlando seems like an odd choice for Florida. Like from other people I've spoken to, they always go like either Naples or something. So what Orlando is just more because the kids had good because it's very touristy. I guess is it a little bit of a pain in the ass being there?
Yeah, I think like closer to the theme parks, it can be a little bit of a nightmare with like
just living there.
Well, I mean, I just like when I'm in Toronto, like I live about 40 minutes out of the city.
Yeah.
When I go in, there's a bunch of fucking assholes with cameras, and you can't get where you want to go. I would imagine it's like tenfold in Orlando.
Yeah, it's similar that way. So there's certain ways that you don't want to go in and out of. We're big Disney fans and theme park fans anyway, so we take advantage of it, but we live outside of the bubble. So believe it or not, there's like hospitality and tourism. That's obviously number one here. But beyond that, there's like a lot of like defense contractors, government contractors. There's a little bit of a tech hub popping up. So we're getting more and more diverse. And you pick and choose your battles on traffic and people and that kind of thing. But we chose Orlando just because away from the hurricanes, you look at what happened just over the past week to Florida, the coast got decimated. So our prediction there turned out to be true. But looking at the growth and that kind of thing, there's just always something to do in Orlando. So it just seemed like a fun place to live more than anything. And then like look at the average realtor here sells like 0.5 houses a year, like almost nothing. So I just kind of felt like I could take advantage of that, like come with that Midwest hustle and just, lean into a market that a lot of agents are complacent, and that's worked out for us too.
Speaking of that Midwest hustle, what did you do in Detroit when you first started your business? So now you're doing 230 million year to date, right? So like when you first got licensed in Detroit, what were your tactics then kind of versus now?
Yeah, I was real old school, like Mike Ferry. It was expireds, prospecting, door knocking, open houses. Eventually I got into some farming. And so we did my last year there, we did 40 million, and it was like 150 units. So that was 2016. So I gave up a business that at the time I was like, I finally hit 1 million in GCI. And I was like, let's roll, but it just didn't seem like it would be for me forever. And so we took the risk. We tried to do like reverse expansion where I kept that team going while I moved. And it just, eventually the team was like, you're not here. It's a little too hard to keep both places going. And so I had to make a decision. You just go all in Florida.
How did you
That
learn
seems
the Orlando market when you first got there? Because you're kind of going in. I mean, I'm sure you visited there before, but you're kind of going in blind, right? Like you don't have a team there. You don't have an established office necessarily. So what were your first moves when you got out there to piggyback off of the success in Detroit?
Yeah, a lot of it was so when I got here, somebody introduced me to YouTube, and I just grabbed my phone and started going to every builder model and doing like these shitty builder tours. And I got to know the market really well that way. So just getting to know the neighborhoods, getting to know the builder quality. Like 35% of the houses that are sold in Orlando are new construction. So it's a really big market. And so just getting to know that. And then I was previewing houses and still doing all the old school stuff at the same time. So I was still door knocking, holding other agents' listings open and that sort of thing until we built up a business. And then the social media side sort of took over to where I don't have to do that stuff quite much anymore, thankfully. But yeah, that was the transition period just to get to know the market.
Yeah, it seems like a completely different market. Like in my mind, in Detroit, you're like rap battling in your listing presentation.
Just strictly through the lens
then-
of 8 Mile.
Yeah. And then in Orlando, you got like Mickey ears and everyone's happy. And I
Yeah.
love your little tag. If Walt Disney's grandson was a realtor,
Yeah.
that's like, I like that. I don't know if it's like a tag, but it says it on your Instagram and I like that.
Yeah. I think when I moved here, it was like, I knew a lot of realtors, but I didn't know anybody else that lived here other than Mickey, so I was like, how do I reposition myself with all of these realtors that I know, as like, I'm in Orlando now. And so I went in really on the persona of just being the theme park guy. We're constantly sharing stuff about Disney and what's going on in Orlando. And through that, that's actually kind of how I found my voice with content on YouTube, was just sort of like being the digital, like the actual digital mayor, talking about like the news, what's coming, the developments, a little bit of like the moving to and living in videos, but more so like you come to me for a resource on all things Orlando. And so that's actually changed my life. That's changed our business in a really big way.
Yeah, that was super smart because, I mean, not every city or like you can't always do that. Like Orlando is super searchable. So
Right.
like for you to get on it that kind of early on when not a lot of people were doing it, you're like the go-to now. I mean, Toronto's kind of searchable, but if you're in like, Detroit isn't people aren't just like YouTubing, things to do in Detroit.
5
it's
reasons
just
to
they
move
aren't
to Detroit.
yeah, they're not really doing that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure Detroit has some great places, but like Orlando, like I told you, I'm going to Orlando on Saturday, and like we would just Google like, yeah, what's like best things to do in Orlando, and if you pop up, now you're like subconsciously, if we were to ever buy like an investment property or something like that, like you're the person because you're
Yeah.
like the originator of the content, and
Yeah.
there's something to be said about being first or early. I really do believe that.
Yeah, and then from there, it's just the consistency, because there's lots of guys, a lot of agents here jumping on the YouTube bandwagon, and they'll try that for a while, and they typically give up after 4 or 5 videos that flop. And that was just I don't know. When I moved here, I was like, I'm going to do 100 videos in 100 days. They're going to suck. I'm going to edit them myself and just see what happens. And then one of them popped off. Got 140,000 views on YouTube, and I was like, started getting calls. Like, okay, it's worth pushing through and figuring this out. And so it's been a cool ride.
What was that video that popped off?
The top 10 things you didn't know about Celebration, Florida, which if you're a Disney fan at all, like Disney created this town, like this utopia town where everything is like they still have a seat on the board, Disney does, of the homeowners association. So if you want to paint your door a color, this is what it's got to look like. And so I did a video about that, and it was like the homeowners association costs, like what goes on in the neighborhood. And for whatever reason, that one did really well. And so I immediately like pivoted from builder tours to more so like the moving to living in videos. And then now over the past 18 months, it's kind of transitioned to a little bit more like all encompassing Orlando. So yeah, that was a transition.
What does it look like? Because obviously you don't just post a video and then people are like, I want to use you, and then they just come knocking on your door. How does that nurturing process, like what does that look like once you post a video, someone reaches out? What happens next?
Yeah, so we've got an ISA team. We've got 2 people that are in-house ISAs that know the area really well. And so they book an appointment to figure out like a mini buyer consult. So, okay, you're moving to Orlando. Are you buying an Airbnb? Are you buying an investment? Are you moving here for work? Are you retiring here? What is it? They dive in a little bit more about their backstory. And then through that, they're like, who I think Ken would want you to work with is Brianna, because Brianna is our Airbnb queen. You're going to love working with her. When's the best time for her to reach out? And so our call to action, essentially, like, we want to be your real estate resource of choice. If you're looking to buy or sell, email me at info@pozekgroup.com. And so that email is set up specifically for YouTube. So if it comes in at all, we know that that's a YouTube lead. And so currently, like, year to date, 39% of our business comes directly from YouTube.
Jesus.
And then everything else becomes easier too, like Sphere stuff, agent referrals, like they're all reaching out because of that content as well. So it's a good place to pivot.
That email, are you plugging that within your video, or is that a link in description type of thing?
Both. Yep.
Okay. How often are you plugging your contact info throughout your videos?
Just once at the end. I've been early on, like I just put a video out on last Tuesday. It popped off pretty well. Like what they wish they knew before moving to Orlando. And that one did really well. And so like I do the hook, and then after like a little bit of B-roll, I'm like, hey, by the way, I'm putting out videos just like this every single week, hit the subscribe button. So that's my first call to action. And at the end, I'm like, hey, if you got any value out of this at all, my team and I would love to be your real estate resource of choice, whether that's today or 2 years in the future, reach out, right? So we're just trying to build a pipeline. And so, like 6 months ago when the market was red hot, we were getting 350 to 450 leads a month from YouTube.
Yeah. Like,
Damn.
this is, I mean, and I'm bad at this too. Like YouTube seems to be the place for like lead capturing more than any other platform. Especially that kind of like in town, like move here type content. Do you ever do content that's just like, not that your content's not fun, Ken, but like fun, just like nothing really to do with real estate, like just like a Disney theme park thing?
Yeah, so I feel like
that?
YouTube like pigeonholes you into who you are, what you do. So like I've tried to do like a day in the life going to Disney, and I've tried to do like different stuff like that, but I'm not like a Disney YouTuber. And so there's other people here, like there's this guy, Tim Tracker, he's got 1 million subs and all he does is theme park content, right? But I think if he put out a real estate walkthrough, it would probably not do the greatest, right? Because YouTube plugs you in or puts you in that corner. So I don't do the lip syncing. I wish I was cool like that, like you guys are, but
That's
I'm
not
not
cool.
I'm just
I don't know. Don't put me in the lip
We are
syncing.
cool,
I don't.
but that's not cool.
Yeah, I don't do the lip.
I'll do the
syncing.
parodies, whatever. I that's just not my vibe. But
Look,
that's it.
what you're doing, I mean, getting 40% of your business, 30,000 subscribers on YouTube, $230 million a year. I don't think you need to lip sync to some Kesha song, right, man? That was a horrible reference from 2019. But
yeah,
the thing with YouTube, like when everyone says like, oh, this, unlocked a new business for me, is it because that trust that people feel with you because of long form? Because right now all we're talking about is short form and how important that is. But when they see you on screen for 20 minutes talking about the coolest neighborhoods, or as you said, the fire neighborhoods in one of your YouTube videos because you were trying to be cool, or your partner corrected you. Is it because of that trust that they get where it's like, I feel like I know this person even more because I just experienced 10, 20 minutes with them?
Yeah, for sure. So we don't have to do like the 10 days of pain, or like, we're not grinding after these leads. Yeah. Like we're like, before it was like pay-per-click leads and you're call texting and emailing them and, bothering the shit out of them until they finally respond. We're allowed to swear on this, right?
Yeah, of course.
So 10 days of pain, that was like a big thing. So now it's like, they're reaching out to us, like, please, we want to work with you. How do we get in your schedule? How do we, please, right? So it's a way more warm follow-up. And then from there, it's like, we do push people over to Instagram and TikTok. I mean, I'm terrible on TikTok, but my Instagram, as soon as I started mentioning it on my YouTube channel, like, hey, by the way, if you want daily insights into like life in Orlando, follow me over on Instagram. I went from like 1,400 followers last year to like 9,500 today. And it was just really from that. And so a lot of the time the funnel becomes, they find me on YouTube, they follow me on Instagram, and then DM me on Instagram. Like, hey, so we've been following you for the past 2 years. My husband and I were coming to town this weekend. We'd love to meet with somebody on your team. And so that typically it's either email or DMs on Instagram is where we get the majority of our leads.
Yeah. Well, you're going to go from 9,500 to 95,000 after this interview.
Oh,
I believe the top real estate podcast in the world. Ken, I feel like you're just very warm though. Like Eric, I don't think we have that quality honestly, and I'm being serious here. We're not like you're very like when I watch you on video, and this is I'm not like being sarcastic. There's a warm quality to you that makes me trust you. I honestly don't think Eric and I have that. Like we do the funny shit, and that's great, but
I
it doesn't
certainly
like
don't have that.
it doesn't
There's no
translate the
warmth
same. No,
radiating off of me.
it
But I
doesn't translate.
I agree. Like
But yeah,
it's professional and it's calming. The way you talk is very calming. You watch the video, it's like, oh, I trust this guy. He's articulate. He knows how to talk about these neighborhoods. He knows what he's talking about. And the video production also is incredible too. So your video in itself is like a pitch for how their listing video could be, because they already see that you're good on camera, that you know how to edit. They see your team. They see your hooks. Like they know that you're a marketing expert. So it's not just like the person, it's also
yeah.
the process in place. So
Now,
congrats, man.
Thanks, man.
was there like a trial and error in terms of like how you wanted like your presence and how you wanted like your dialogue to sound and things like that? Because if you look at like a Brad McCallum, he's very like
Jumps.
enthusiastic and
Yeah.
jumps and kind of sporadic. Did you put any thought into that, or you just kind of sat in front of the camera? Did you ever rewatch stuff and think, I could, maybe I could put a little bit more in here or anything like that?
Yeah, I think it's for me. It's been the cadence, trying to figure out what I enjoy, and then also analyzing and improving. Like Daryl Eves is kind of my YouTube guru that I follow, and he's just constantly like every time you're putting out a piece of content, going back and analyzing, improving, figuring out the watch time, where were the people actually scrubbing back to watch more video, and for me, so figuring out the editing, working with my editor really hand in hand of like, here's why I think that we can't let 30 seconds go by without a screen change. Like it needs to be like every 2 or 3 seconds, something's popping different. And so to get that, so it's been a work in progress. I still feel like we've got a long way to go. But yeah, it's just a constant never ending improvement. And then also trying to shoot content that I enjoy. I know I'm like making fun of him a little bit, but I love the guy. Like Bob Tompkins, like can do parodies really well. Like that's just not my vibe. Brad McCallum is remarkable. I try to do tours like him, and it doesn't feel right to me. I feel super awkward, and you can tell on screen that I feel awkward. Whereas like I can sit in front of this camera, or I can walk around town and just kind of like tell the news, or like go through our outline and feel really, really comfortable. And I think everybody needs to lean into whatever that is for them. And because I'm not going to be Brad, I'm not going to be Bob, and that's okay.
I feel like you and Neil Dingra should be on the Calm app. You know that Calm app?
I do know the Calm app, yeah.
You guys have like, I feel like you can just talk about like mortgage rates and I'll fall asleep.
Is that good or bad?
Yeah, that's nice.
Thanks, buddy.
No, I just mean
I know
like,
what you mean. He meant that in an
as a
endearing way.
skit.
Yeah,
In a very endearing way.
Yeah,
sure.
You assholes.
I get you.
But it would be a funny skit though, actually, if you did like realtor meditation. See, that's
5
something you could
tips.
probably pull off.
That's right.
Talking about interest rates and lulling people to sleep. That's a good product right there.
Let me know if you guys need content.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So also, not just the videos, what are you doing tactically with titles and thumbnails? Because obviously if it's location specific, you can do very searchable things like 5 reasons you should move to Orlando, stuff like that. But how are you coming up with these thumbnails? And yeah, how are you coming up with the thumbnails? We'll edit that so that question sounds better.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. So I think 2 things with titles and thumbnails. I think with thumbnails, people overload titles way too much. They're trying to just basically take their entire title and make it fit on a thumbnail. So I think that's, for me, I'm trying to put 1 to 3 words max and then have something to where that's going to tell the story of what that's going to be. But titles, I don't know if I've cracked it like wide open, but way different. I feel many agents focus on too much on SEO. So it's like their title is moving to Orlando. Like, okay, there's a million agents doing that. Are you going to rank? Probably not. Instead, like I put this video out last week, what they wish they knew before moving to Orlando. That's like a very like, when you're scrolling through a website and it's like you see like a news headline from Forbes or something else that you're going to want to click on. That's what more agents should be focused in on, is like coming up with titles that seem like they read like news headlines more so than stuffing an SEO specific kind of term.
What is the process of making a video look like? Like when I do like a bigger production on my videos, like everything's scripted out, storyboarded, stuff like that. Do you have kind of an outline you follow? Like, okay, we need to hit them here in the first 10 seconds to keep them. And then like, just kind of, like that outline that's goes through, like, is there a common theme through all your videos, would you say?
Yeah, I do two buckets. One is going to be like the moving to living in kind of buckets where we dissect a neighborhood or an area or who would want to live there, price points, architecture, that kind of thing. And then we have like a coming soon to Orlando bucket that we talk about. So here's the developments coming to the area. Here's stuff you might not know unless you did hours of research, which I do. And so those are the two buckets that we hit pretty consistently. And so if it's like a moving to living in area, I outline it. We don't script anything. It's really just more like intro with the hook, 4 or 5 points, outro with the call to action. And that's pretty much every video on that side. On the coming soon piece, I'm just trying to keep it really poppy, super B-roll heavy to kind of keep their attention with hooks along the way. And so for me, I think if agents did a ton more research up front, they would be way more comfortable in front of their camera. And that's what you really get caught up in. Like when you see that red light pop on and you're like stumbling over your words because you're not well researched. And so that's the way we go about it.
What's an example of a hook along the way throughout the video?
So throughout the video, it would be the subscribe or the call to action at the end. But early on, it's just like, today we're going to call up the 5 mistakes people make before moving to Orlando. Like, stay tuned. So something like that early on with the hook, super easy to come up with. But then throughout, it's trying to interweave like the subscribe piece. Like, hey, you know what? If you've enjoyed this video, I'm putting out stuff like this every single week. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and like it before you leave. That would help out. And then you just kind of roll right into the next thought instead of what I think, instead of it seeming like a commercial, like try to do your best to make it seem like part of the video and people won't click off that way.
If you're listening to this podcast, make sure you subscribe on YouTube and throw this video a like because that will help in the algorithm, for God's sake, please. And I've found this extremely effective. I'm trying to be way more cognizant about it in these podcasts. And then also I'm coming out with these Marketing Monday videos where I'll spew some, I'll come up with some stuff about, Instagram strategy, fire it off. And at the end, and even at the beginning now, I'm saying like, if this is a topic that interests you, make sure you throw this video a like. It lets me know that you enjoy these videos. And my like ratio has gone up significantly. Like I think I got 100 likes on the last video with only 1,000 views. So that's pretty good that people are doing that. You really have to give that call to action consistently throughout the video. And another thing I notice you do in your videos is right after you say like, the 5 reasons, you do say, make sure you stick to the end because. And so that hook right there, that verbal hook, it's like, okay, there's going to be a treat at the end, or there's a reason I have to stay through the entire video because it's that retention that's very important for the algorithm and for, your growth, right?
Yeah, your average view duration matters a ton. And like, so everybody's asked, like, what's a good click-through rate? What's a good average view duration? And I think it's you versus you on YouTube. So it's literally like, if I got 6% last week, how do I get to 7? Like, what can I do to tweak this to get a little bit more engagement, a little bit longer view duration? And so figuring out like, adding B-roll over you talking. So that way there's a visual representation of what you're talking about and people are going to want to watch longer. So all those things you kind of figure out along the way. But yeah, you nailed it. Like, actually just asking matters a lot. And I think, I don't know, like I grew up listening to like NPR and like all these other things with my parents in the car. And I remember like when they would add in advertisements along the way, they would tell a story about their life. And it was like, I was out canoeing with the kids and towards the end, my back was really hurting. And the thing I grabbed for was a leaf. Right. And it wasn't just like, hey, let's stop everything right now and talk about this Aleve, like, this pain reliever. It was like weaving in a story. And so I think the more you can do that sort of stuff, the more it just seems natural and people want to reach out as agents.
This is a good section for our BoomTown ad to come in.
I was just going to say that. BoomTown ad.
It's exactly.
Matt, what kind of things stand the test of time?
Beats me, Eric.
Well, I got a list for you right here. Twinkies. J-Lo, Ben Affleck, diamonds, the Beatles. You could add your real estate success to that list when you partner with BoomTown, the #1 user rated real estate CRM in the game.
BoomTown was built to drive sustainable long-term success, Eric, no matter the market. So if you're ready to put your best foot forward and build a real estate business that can stand the test of time, visit BoomTown, ROI.com/overask. Plus, see how you can score $750 in free digital advertising now. Now that's BoomTown, ROI.com/overask. What not to do in an ad.
Are you an agent looking for more leads? BoomTown helps out with.
Exactly. #1 rated CRM. 55,000 plus agents.
Yes.
They can't all be wrong.
20 agents on the team. What
Yeah.
are you looking for? Are they all like, do they have to be video heavy? Is your team still door knocking and cold calling and doing open houses, or have you is that gone? Do they all need to be on video? Is there certain things that need to happen on your team, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so I tell my agents, like, you guys don't have to be on YouTube because I'm on YouTube, and if we're all going after the same keywords and the same type, like
Right.
it's not really going to make a lot of sense. I use it as an incentive for agents that are doing well to put their face on camera. So that's one. Two, I use some agents on the team on camera because I want people to know I have a team and it's not just me, and so they feel a little bit more comfortable. Like, I did a video with one of my agents out in the villages. She lives way out there. Like, I didn't want to service that area. It's like an hour from my house, and it's a retirement community. It's not like my niche, but she wanted to. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll bring you on. We'll talk about the villages, and we blow it up. We got like 250,000 views on that video, and she's getting leads all the time. So I use it as an incentive. I do have them on Instagram all the time. I'm like, go document, don't create. You don't have to be some real broker, but like real master. Like, just go out there, follow your clients, follow your sphere, start growing it a little bit organically, and then just show who you are on stories all the time, and you'll convert. And that's worked really well for them. So 4 months ago, when the market was still like white hot, they had way more leads than they ever needed. They were getting, they were just inundated. Their follow-up was terrible because it was just like this flood. Now things have pulled back. And so we're having to get back to basics on open houses every weekend and long-term nurtures and, getting better with scripts and all of that sort of thing. So we definitely have seen a massive curve over the past 2-3 months.
Yeah. What are you teaching them right now? Those agents that just got into business a couple of years ago that haven't experienced something like that? Like, what are you really focusing on in terms of their lead gen?
So I'm kind of doing this care and candor campaign with my team, which is just like 1 week I'm hitting them in the face with how tough this is going to be. And if they don't get it together, they're going to miss out. And then the other piece is just like, building them up, building up their mindset, and just, making sure that they know that they've got the tools and the team that's going to allow them to succeed. And so literally every other week I oscillate on like hitting them in the face or, patting them on the back. And so trying to offer like more opportunities for role play and just make sure that becomes our culture is like really great follow up, and having like, today we nailed on our CRM. Just, does every single lead have a next task follow up? Are you doing that with every single lead? Because before you could have just waited. We had so many leads coming in that it was like, even if you don't prospect, someone's going to call you today to go buy a house. And so now you actually have to have the skills for follow-up. And so I'm like, do you want to be a statistic and fall out, or do you want to win? And I choose to win. And so whether that's with you or somebody else, we're going to. And so just trying to build up that strong mindset is where we're at.
What sort of content are you telling them to create during the shift? Because, there was this kind of gold rush of humorous content from 2020, basically through the beginning of 2022, of the TikTok dances, the points, the humor content, where everyone was just like, this is so easy right now. I could literally just sit in my room with a ring light on, point at stuff, and get leads coming out the ass. So are you telling them to be a little bit more serious? Don't make fun of the clients, talk about what's actually happening in the market and educate more? Is that kind of your direction?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's a little bit of that. And then again, like we talk about, hey, go show who you are as a person. If you're just only talking about real estate, nobody's going to want to follow you. So go talk about you at the parks at Disney, with you at the soccer field with your kids, and then also running off to go show houses and how you're having success with people that, had to do $75,000 over asking and waive appraisals and all this other garbage. Now we can actually negotiate with the seller and get a 2-1 buy down with the lender or whatever it might be. So show off your successes more than anything. And we just never complain. So the whole piece around like the market's down, or this, market's actually not down, which is crazy. Units have fallen, but the freaking average sales price here keeps going up. So it's a very weird thing. So making sure that you're the confident concierge is what we talk about, that you're actually telling them real facts and real stats based on your clients. And that's been really winning over a lot of people.
Yeah, so they're not just saying date the rate, marry the house.
I hate that stuff. Yeah, that's not our vibe. Yeah.
I've heard it 7,000 times in 3 days.
Yeah.
And people are serious.
That's the new line.
They believe
That's
it.
the new line. Yeah. I was around in 2007 when like the market, they were like, oh, a 1 year interest only mortgage. That's totally fine. I mean, a year's forever, right? And then all of a sudden it inflates and they lose their house. Like, I don't want to be that agent that they call that all of a sudden they're upside down and screwed. So yeah, we're not doing that.
Yeah. No, thank God. I will say though, doing the content like I do, and Eric and I talk about this a lot, like we do the funny content, And it's almost hard to stand out with the funny content now because everyone jumped on the bandwagon. But
Yeah.
when you pepper in things that you don't normally do, like I posted a picture of like me, my wife, and my dog yesterday, and through the roof. Just like the comedy content is going to do what it's going to do at this point. People come to my page because they know what they're going to get. But when you sprinkle in something that may be a little more serious or family or something like that, it really does, like I found, like has a huge jump. So, I mean,
Yeah.
with your agents doing like, being serious and then like, but bringing in that like their hobbies and actually showing that they're a real person, I think that's what actually, like, the knowledge is great, but then I feel like the personality solidifies it all.
Yeah, 100%. Let me ask you guys something that now that you're on my show.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Does it ever, I mean, being funny and being like, okay, be funny. I mean, you guys are naturally hilarious people. Like I've got to hang out with Eric and you're a funny dude, but like, does that ever weigh on you? Like I gotta go be funny now because of the content and the algorithm.
Yeah, you got to put your clown nose on every single day. It's weighing on me right now. Haven't posted anything yet. I have no idea what to post. I can't think of anything. I've posted 4,200 times, and I'm running out of material and jokes. So yes, there is a huge pressure, especially just running like a media brand where it's like I got to post a couple feed posts today. I got to post stories. I got to keep this machine going. And
Yeah, but what about in person though?
in
He said
person, I'm
it like,
funny just naturally, Matt. That's not something.
No,
I'm
no,
purely on.
no. I
react to
I meant
people.
online.
I don't.
oh,
I
you
don't.
meant
yeah.
online?
Yeah, he meant online. I mean, I'm not
You're-
like walking around doing like stand-up routines, just on the
Oh.
sidewalk or anything like that.
That's
or
what
at
I
real
do.
estate
That's what I'm doing
conferences.
after this.
Are you?
I'm going to a local Remax and doing it. No.
Easy fodder. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of see that. I mean, there's some people who come up to me in person and they're like seriously, they're like, say something funny. I'm like, fuck off. The hell? But I think we've done a pretty good job now with the podcast, like to show like different sides of us, Eric.
Yeah.
That we don't always like. It's fun and funny, and people like when we're funny, but there's also different sides.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's alleviated some of that for
I
me
think,
at least.
yeah, 100%. I think, yeah, Broke Agent Media, this podcast, and getting into the marketing weeds, like that's what I love about this. I love getting more emails. I love getting more YouTube subscribers. I love hearing from experts like you about like what to do with the thumbnail, what to say throughout the video. That stuff interests me so much more now than getting comments and crying emojis on a clear to close meme or something like that. Like
Yeah.
that was fulfilling for the last 7 years, and I still want to continue that because I think it's necessary for the brand and it's fun for the industry to have, a daily joke or escape for people to laugh at. But I think it's this stuff that I care so much more about because this is how you're going to build a business. Like just throwing up a meme every single day is not necessarily going to build anything.
Yeah, there's so many things outside of our industry that like for so long it was like go buy Zillow or Realtor.com and call your sphere. Like that was it. And then all of a sudden social media and like there's like the whole newsletter business side of like the like business, right? That we've brought into our team that's completely changed what we do as well. Like our sphere business is through the roof. But like looking outside of the industry as well and bringing that back to real estate and just kind of like testing it. That's what we love right now. Like we have a whole testing budget, right? And I'm sure you guys are doing something similar with all the content that you're putting out.
Tell us about your newsletter and how you're getting more subscribers and what you're sending out.
Yeah, so we've been doing. We created a newsletter called the Orlando Reel, and it's essentially theme parks, real estate, and life in Orlando. So I've got two people they're not on staff, they're contract people, but we're putting out like 6 or 7 articles a week, and we're putting out some reels and video behind it. And so it's literally October 1st was our 1-year anniversary. We got 18,000 people on the newsletter, and we get like a crazy open rate, like 39, 30, 38, 37% at year to date. And so our click-through rate's amazing. And then really it's like just sponsored by the Pozek group. So down below, looking to buy or sell, click here. And so we can click through and watch how that goes. But it's been a lot of fun just kind of building out a whole new subset, like a Morning Brew, or there's so many other big newsletter companies now. And just kind of taking their template and bringing that over to real estate and just trying to figure it out. But through that, our past clients referrals are way up. Our sphere referrals are way up. Agent referrals, all that kind of stuff. So being consistent and be able to take all that stuff from YouTube and Instagram and bringing that back into the email box gives you like a digital asset that you own, like that list, right? Like I'm not telling you guys anything new, but I think many agents like they're borrowing other people's clients. Like when you go buy a Zillow lead, you're borrowing that client until it becomes yours. Like you're paying a huge number. Whereas if you build an asset through YouTube subscribers or your email newsletter, like you actually have a business you can actually do something with.
Yeah, you do own your email list, besides like hosting it on MailChimp or something like that. But if you lose your Instagram or your YouTube channel or your Twitter or something like that, like then that's gone. Your email list is something that you could control. So when you said you're putting out those articles, are you writing those articles or having them curated, or what's the process like for that?
Yeah, so I'm writing one of those 7 articles a week, and the other ones are done by somebody else. And so I'm usually talking about real estate, and then the other ones are talking about new area development or theme park, something or another. So Disney changed this, Universal changed that. So yeah, just trying to be that like all-in resource for people, whether they live here or not.
How did you get 18,000 in a year? That pisses me off, actually.
Part of it was just the call to action from YouTube. Like it was every once in a while sprinkling it in. We've also put it in the description down below. And then from there, like organically, we're getting a lot of Google SEO. Like people are finding us from, if they type in like what Disney's doing about this new ride or what, this new neighborhood that's popping up. We're really focusing in on like builder content right now. And so, yeah, a lot of organic with the pop up. Every time you visit our website, it pops up and asks you to sign up.
Yeah. I'm telling you, Eric, we've heard it over and over again now with this YouTube channel. We need.
What do you think we're doing with BAM? I'm working out. You got to do yours. This is your call to action.
You didn't even hear what I was gonna say.
Okay.
You didn't hear what I was gonna say. You psycho! Holy shit!
I'm trying to help, man.
American Psycho over here. Yeah, no.
You guys' channel's growing pretty fast, though.
Halloween. Yeah, it is growing fast, but I still feel like we should be, because like you said earlier, the YouTube algorithm kind of knows what, like they pigeonhole you into something. And I feel like our shows could be even bigger, even though they're all the biggest shows in real estate. They could be bigger if if we got them all on separate channels.
Yeah, I mean that's something
what I was saying.
That's something
but it's
we're
hard.
discussing.
Like, how do you transition that?
Yeah, I mean, I think
you guys had Sirhan's. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You're the guest.
I was gonna say you guys had Sirhan's content director on, right? And he was talking about how Sirhan split the channels off because the tours and the personal development wasn't really gelling together. And so, yeah, eventually I feel like you got to get to a place where you make a decision on which direction you want to take that channel and then go all in.
We're going to have to eat this shit.
Well, Matt's coming out with a new show called Cold Calls this October, and that one's going to start on its own channel. So we'll definitely monitor the growth of that. But I think, initially we want the Broke Agent Media YouTube channel to be a hub for real estate education and entertainment where there's something every single day. So if you want to get the Byron Lazine podcast, you're still going to that channel. If you want to get the walkthrough and get the real estate news, over ask, you want to get vlogs. Like I want it to be kind of like, we've used this example a million times, but the Barstool kind of over umbrella of this all. But we'll see. I think having Cold Calls on its own channel and seeing that growth, I bet it's going to go really quickly. And, that's going to be the audience that wants to see Cold Calls, because if you see over ask and then maybe you don't like the walkthrough and then you get fed the walkthrough, then you're telling YouTube you don't want to come back to the channel. So then you might not see the next over ask. So
that's right.
That I agree, Matt. I think right now we're focusing on building it, and then we might have to break them up.
Yeah.
But
having them all on that channel is like one of those 8-person rowers. If one person fucking doesn't carry their weight, the whole thing goes down.
That's true. I mean, if a video really underperforms or someone really doesn't like a specific episode or something like that, it could definitely damage the rest of the channel. One more thing about the email newsletter, because I'm also obsessed with growing these, and how we're doing it with BAM is we're doing ebooks, and I'm doing webinars and trying to get emails from people by like speaking at brokerages and stuff. And I feel like there's so much work to do to get these emails of other agents. It sounds like you're getting a lot from YouTube. Is there anything else that you're doing on other social media platforms? Are you putting them on your Instagram stories, Facebook? Like how else are you getting these subscribers?
Specifically for the newsletter,
Yeah.
it's really, so we've got two now. We've broke out one. It's called the Content Lab. That's specifically for agents, and that's really become like every time I go speak somewhere, I'm like, hey, listen, I'm not charging you to speak at this thing or whatever, but I need the list of the attendees. And so, hey, here's 100 to 300 people, and that's growing pretty quick. And I'm just strictly doing that for agent referrals in Orlando. Like I just want to people know me synonymously. On the Orlando Real side, it's just so it's a little bit of our like if you go to the Orlando Real on Instagram, like we're pushing everybody back to a link tree, and then every article that they read, it's asking them to subscribe. So that's been really good for us. And then we haven't run any ads behind it yet. Like we're there. Like we need to start working through either outsourcing it or figuring out how to run ads behind it. But right now it's just all been organic.
That's what you got to do, Eric. When you go speak, that's genius.
Yeah, we're going to try to do like MLS boards and more brokerages and stuff like that, like just over Zoom, and teach people Instagram and stuff just to get 200, 300 emails at a time, because these lead pages that we're doing with the ebooks are unbelievably time consuming. They're 10, 14 pages. There's graphics throughout. Like they take weeks to write and edit and formulate. And I think it's great because we're giving them this value, and they're, giving up their email to get this incredible resource. But that's so time consuming to get 1,000, 2,000 emails when we should be mentioning it more on our YouTube. Like, hit the link in the description now, join our newsletter. So do that actually.
Yeah. And on the website, I'm sure you've got it somewhere, but I would have it pop up a few different times, like whether it's in the body of the actual email or on the sides, or, there's definitely ways to do it. Like through COVID, I was talking like to different brokerages and teams like every day. And eventually I was like, why am I doing this? A, for free, and B, like with no follow-up afterwards. Like they come hear me speak, and then I have no way to reach out to them. So that became kind of our standard.
Yeah, that's smart.
Getting the list.
That is smart. Although when I speak, I take that money,
Good for you.
About, Ken. I'm joking. Well, I do.
I don't have that Matt money, man. So
yeah. Yeah. The Matt and Eric money. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good, Eric?
You guys are getting paid for this? No, I'm flying around the country just giving Instagram tips away for free, man.
Yeah, he's flying around. He's not even doing the Zoom. Eric's flying out for free.
It costs me money every time I open my mouth, basically. Everything I do costs an insane amount of money.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, but you gotta, like they've said forever, you gotta spend money to make money. Yep. Anyways, Ken, before we it'd be funny if we take a clip and I keep calling you Ben and you go Ken, and I'm like, yeah, whatever.
See, you are just naturally.
I should have just did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, we asked this to a lot of people. We've had a lot of real agents here now, and we can't. I mean, it's good brokerage, no doubt, but it just seems like every person is going to real, and Eric and I can't put our finger on it here. No one's given us a valid answer on why you switched your thriving businesses and went to real. So, Ken, let's see if you can do this.
Yeah. So I think eventually you get to a place, everybody does it differently, but you want to be part of something that's growing. And I think that a lot of like the entrepreneurial, especially content driven people, like we want to grow something, right? I feel like EXP, the ship is way sailed. KW, I hit a ceiling, and it was, talking to a lot of leadership there of like what my next opportunity was. And there just wasn't anything that was exciting. Like, I don't want to go buy a market center and make 10 grand a year. Like that's not at all appealing to me. So instead you get to join Real, partner with a bunch of people that I enjoy. We all kind of like same mindset with a really big opportunity in front of us. And so I think that if we grow it the right way, it could be something we look back 5-10 years from now and be really proud of. So that's the reason I moved over.
Are you doing anything? Go ahead.
Go for it, Eric.
Are you doing anything to recruit other agents, like actively? Are you throwing up a link in your story? Are you saying, hey, come join my team? Or is it really all just attraction from your content and from your success? Because we just had Cassidy on, and he's doing, Instagram lives with other agents and basically just having a conversation about why I think you were on one also, about why you switched from Keller Williams to Real. So is that becoming a part of your business? Because now there's this new, income strategy here that you could get. Like the downlines people get from these, as we said in the last episode, are bananas.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be quite frank. So I moved over. I have not made one recruiting call ever. Before I moved over, I did like, this whole thing where if you've had this call from me and or any other real agent, you know what's coming, but it's like, hey, I'm thinking about making this move and I want you to tell me if I'm crazy or not. And so you have that kind of prep call And literally I was making those calls to figure out like, is this so dumb for me to leave Keller Williams after 12 years and move to this kind of like newer brokerage for the opportunity of something in the future? And most of them are like, no, I totally see that. So I've been here for 3 months. I've got 84 people in my network. I'm making anywhere between $5,000 to $7,000 a month already. And it's, pretty early. And so I see that to where you've got other guys making significantly more than that already after being there a year or so. And the cool thing is like, it's an actual community. Like we've got text threads going with a ton of us back and forth on content, hiring, what are you doing for the shift? Like all that. It feels very much so like a community that I've been looking for. So to me, it's an easy sell.
Eric.
Did I do better?
That was great.
Yeah,
Matt,
you did.
we got to start getting referrals from the Real Brokerage at this point. I mean, we've had like 20%, not 20% of them on, but we've had so many real brokers on.
No, we've had like 77% of them on. I mean,
yeah,
it's
insane.
It's insane.
There's only 10 of us anyways. So yeah.
How many are there? 8,000?
Yeah, I think it's in the sevens at this point. I don't know the exact number, but yeah.
Eric, I don't know why the hell you're not at Real.
Got to be broker agnostic when you're doing a media company.
I know, but Ken just said he doesn't even do anything. They just literally see that he's there.
True.
Well, he doesn't do anything.
Well, he's not doing anything in terms of recruiting.
I love the way you're here. Ken doesn't even do anything. Yeah,
that's the clip right there. But he in terms of recruiting, he's not like, hey guys, here's 10 reasons why you should come to Real. He's just being himself, literally just doing what he did. And now the Real's just going to his bank every month and putting in they go, hi, we'd like to deposit $7,000 in Ken's account today.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm over here flying to South Carolina to speak at a Real-based conference to get 200 emails. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Ken, have you heard of the agency?
I have.
Yeah. We're legit too.
You're legit too. Yeah.
We're legit as well. I mean, I'm just saying.
Legit as fuck.
Yeah, we're legit as fuck. We're legit as they come. Ken, you were talking about the EXP ship sailing. Now, the Real ship has not yet sailed. They're getting ready to sail and thrive, not just sail away into the sunset. They're going to thrive. Out of Real, who's one person you need on your sailing ship and who's one person you'd cut the tie and hope they stay on land?
Oh, Jesus. Specific names?
Yeah, specific names.
Yeah, specific names.
If you had to kick one person out of Real, who would it be? And if you had to keep one person, who would it be?
If I had to kick somebody out of Real, and why is it Bob Tompkins? I don't know.
Perfect. There we go. That's what we wanted.
Nice.
He's actually my sponsor, so no, I love the guy. No, I mean, like I look at there's like culture keepers, like people that like really embody who Real is, and I think that's Brad McCallum. I think the guy is like, when you talk to him, he's not salesy. He's just like good old boy from Canada. So that's somebody I'd have to keep.
Yeah, same with me. Bob is your sponsor.
He is, yeah.
Jesus, what's he making? Fucking
a lot of money,
$15,000 a month off you.
Probably.
When I joined, I texted him. I said, "Hey, so how does it feel to know that your kid's college fund's taken care of?" And he was like, "Pretty good."
That's incredible.
Jesus. Well, you should try and recruit Sirhan.
He's coming to One Real. Yeah, that'll be cool.
Imagine that. Imagine you recruit someone like Sirhan,
and you just have them in your downline.
They just stop. You just don't do anything ever
chill.
Again.
That's true. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Ken, can you give us our YouTube sign off? Like, can you give us a call to action and tell people what to do this podcast? I feel like you're good at that.
So you've been listening to the Overask podcast, and if you haven't already, you should subscribe because we're putting out fire content every single week that's going to help you build your business and make more money. Hit the subscribe and like before you leave, and we'll see you next week.
The Broke Agent presents Overask Podcast.